Chris Mattia. My amateur radio call sign is Whiskey 6 Alpha Hotel. This is WaveTalkers Live, episode number 71. It's our regular coffee bar episode where we take your questions and we try and answer them and kick them around. Today, I'm joined by my two esteemed colleagues, Dan NR6V and David W0DHG. And let's get right into today's topic, and that's going to start off with a regular check-in. So if you have access to Winlink, go ahead and send in a Winlink check-in. Send it to all three of our call signs, W0DHG, NR6V, W6AH, and our tactical address, WaveTalkers. When you send in that, I'm going to go ahead and start pulling folks down here. Remove the spotlight and remove the spotlight so it's a little easier to see this. There we go. Down in the comment section of the standard check-in form, let us know how Winlink has impacted your operating practices. I know it's impacted mine quite a bit, so just kind of curious to see how it's impacted any of you. So let's walk through that check-in process here real quick. I'll pull this down. I'll switch over to the walk up and move myself down into the corner. Now, if you've got access to Winlink and you've gone in and you've set under the settings, you've set that so that you check the little box that says, hey, download and install any of the beta builds. There's a new feature that's just gotten released inside of the beta builds. And check this out. There's now a little magnifying glass right here. They added a search feature into Winlink. I know it's a really basic thing, but this is huge that they've added this in. It allows you to search your messages and search by a variety of different fields that are in here. And it refines the search, what is located up here. It's really helpful. So with your Winlink open, go ahead and click on the new document or the new message window. Then you're going to go over here and you're going to click the select template button. Go ahead and give that a click. You're looking for is in the standard templates. Click the little plus next to that. Come on down here to the general forms section. Give that a click. And down near the bottom, you'll find the Winlink checkin.txt. And it's a really good idea to definitely use this form as opposed to just sending in a Winlink message. That way you get mapped at the end of the episode. So I'm going to give this a double click. And if the demo gods are with me, it should open up my web browser of choice. And I'm going to come up here to the date and time. Go ahead and give that a click. You always want to click in that date and time field so it says the current date and time from your computer. And a lot of people have asked me, hey, why is that it has whatever the previous date and time is? It doesn't automatically set for you. Well, the reason is you might be sending some forms and you might need to do some backdating or some back time on that. So it gives you a chance to go ahead and make those adjustments. But here you go, right there. You can have that automatically set for you. Now we're going to come over here to the selected status. This is going to be an exercise for the band. Let us know how you're connecting, setting in your check-in. I'm going to leave mine set to NA for using the internet. For the mode, I'm going to leave mine set to Telnet. Down here in the send to, this is where you want to put in all three of our call signs. And you want to separate those with a semicolon. That's W0DHG, NR6V, W6AH, and our tactical address, WaveTalkers. Down here in the call sign section, that's where you're going to add in any call signs for any additional operators that you have there with you. Here's your station contact name and your call sign. You're going to fill in the location information. That latitude and longitude information is going to either be set to the center of your grid square, or if you've got a GPS connected, it's going to have your exact latitude and longitude plugged in there automatically. There's that comment section where you can let us know, how has Winlink impacted your operating practices? Go ahead and click the submit button. You'll get a couple of little pull downs here. You can just go ahead and hit OK to jump through those, and then your browser should refresh back to a blank window. You can close it at that point. It should populate this message. You just go ahead and post that to your outbox there in the upper left corner, and then you come up here, you open the session, and hit start, and that should send and receive. Let's see if we've gotten any check-ins coming in, and it looks like we have quite a few coming in. We'll go ahead and download those. Down near the end of the show, we'll check back in and we'll map everybody and see where their check-ins are coming from. In the meantime, let's go ahead and jump into today's topic. And that is the coffee bar episode. We're going to, if you have a question for us that you'd like us to try and answer, go ahead and go onto this URL, cq.wavetalkers.com/coffee bar. It's a really short form. Fill it out. Let us know. We're watching all of those questions that do come in, and we'll be taking many of those as we work through those. So let's get into the first question that's come in. This one came in from KD6LLB. He asks, is there any way for a sysop to monitor the signal to noise ratio and or the bit rate of gateway connections? So this question, if you're not familiar with setting up and operating a gateway, let me switch over to, let me see, which of the buttons is it? It is number 7. Switch over to this one here. So this is an RMS gateway that's running here. It's actually my shares gateway that I've got running. It's got an EmComm 7300 as the radio. It's running both Pactor and Vara HF on it as 2 of the modes. And there's a couple of places where your log files are located within the various different programs. In the download section for sysops on winlink.org, one of the programs that you'll find on there is this one right here. It's called the ADIF Analyzer. And I'll just go ahead and give that a double click. When that opens up, you can simply check any of these boxes and it will bring you up either a graphical display of information. So say you were interested in finding out which days of the week got the most traffic on your gateway. You can just check that and you can see it just pops up a quick graph and shows you information about your gateway. However, and there's a ton of really good information that's here inside of the ADIF Analyzer. You come down here to the settings section and you link that up to your particular RMS gateway so that it's going to pull all of your log files. But what you're looking for there is not inside of any of these log files. These are just kind of the general log files that you're going to do some analysis on. If you're running a Vara HF gateway, and you want to go back and you want to track that information, you can come right up here and click on the log button inside of Vara. You just open up Vara, click the log link right in the menu bar, and it keeps track of all of the connections that your gateway has made through Vara. And it has the transmit max speed, it's got the receive max speed, it's got the signal to noise ratio. All of that information is logged for you. It doesn't get processed and displayed in a nice graphical way, but it is right there for you. It's inside again. If you're looking at the Vara HF window, it's right there for the log. And this works, by the way, on your regular client station as well. If you want to see how your Vara connections have been going, you can open up Vara HF and just click the log button. You can see the log for your system. All right, that is one down. Pretty easy. I'm just going to keep coming back to this slide so that it's always up if folks want to be able to see where the questions are to be able to submit them. All right, so the next question here is, please describe what a portable setup would consist of for field operations. Now, we're going to assume you're talking about a Winlink station for field operations. And this question was sent in by KE6JCA. It was sent in actually a few weeks ago, and we keep this coffee bar file up and running all the time. So periodically, if you do have a question for us, you can go ahead and submit that anytime and it'll show up in there. So let's walk through just a couple of things. If we do a little review here, when we first start off and say for a portable Winlink station that you're going to use for field operations, you've got a couple of goals that you want to accomplish. First, you want to have your station so that you can get on the air quickly. Then you want to be able to improve your station over time as you're sitting there operating and you're working. And then you want to be able to stay on the air for whatever the length of time that you have. So the station that you're going to set up is really going to vary quite a bit depending on what your particular operating needs are. But if we think about a very basic station, these are the generic components. We'll walk through here. We'll talk to each of the guys and find out what your stations are for this in a second. But in general, we can say you're going to have your ham radio, and it's going to be of some sort. More than likely, it's going to be a mobile station. Those typically work quite well, but you can do this with an HT as well. You're going to need some kind of interface between your radio and your computer, and there are a variety of them out there. This might be as simple as just a simple USB cable that connects some radios directly into the computer. You might need something like a signalink or a Digirig, or there's a variety of other ones that are out there, but some sort of interface that you're going to use. You're going to need a computer of some kind. It's going to need to more than likely run Windows in order to do the Winlink traffic effectively. And you're going to need some software on that. Really, there's a minimum of 3 applications that you're going to want. You're going to want Winlink Express as the first application. You're going to want the sound modem by UZ7HO. And this is really regardless of which mode you're going to be operating in. If you go back to last week where we were talking about some of the troubleshooting tips, David was talking about how you can use sound modem in order to check your connections and verify that everything is working properly. So it's a really good troubleshooting tool to have on there. Or if you're using packet, you would definitely need that. The other software would be VARA, either FM or HF for sending your traffic. You can have both on there. You're going to need a battery of some kind. Now, this might be a battery that's built into your radio. It might be an external battery. Basically, you want some kind of additional power storage that you're going to need to be able to operate in the field with. You're going to need an antenna of some kind, and of course, the support for that antenna. Now, this might be a line that you're throwing over a tree. It might be a small tripod. It might be a portable mast. It could be a variety of different things, and some sort of antenna based on the type of operating you're going to be doing. You want to make sure that you've got all the wires that you need to make all of these different connections. So if it's a USB cable connected from your radio to your interface, you're going to need that. You're going to need the specific cable that your interface to your radio is going to need, the USB cable to your computer, any power cables that you have connecting your battery, both to your computer and possibly to your radio. You need your coax. Make sure you've got all of those, any little adapters that you're going to need. And more than likely, you're going to need some sort of a bag to put all of this stuff in so you can transport it. So that's kind of a high level overview. As you're then working with your station, you get your basic station up and running, you're going to want to make some improvements to that station, perhaps upgrade your antenna system. So for instance, when I first set up to deploy in the field, I'll oftentimes, if I'm doing VARA FM, I'll probably put up a small an N9 TAX, just Slim Jim, and just kind of toss that up wherever I'm at. And then as time goes on, maybe I'll deploy a larger mast or something like that. You might want to have solar power or a generator that you can use to keep your station on the air longer. Maybe you've got a larger battery that other folks are bringing in, or a more powerful radio. Any of these are different types of things that you could use to start to improve your station. Let's go around real quick. David, you want to talk about what your portable station is that you typically use?
Sure, absolutely, Chris. And I think you nailed it. The items that you talked about, the things that you went through are the keys to your success. I have a couple of different portable stations that are here. One of them right in this box. And we demoed that over the last couple of weeks, as well as one that I have in a smaller ammo can that runs off of an HT. And I think the thing that I would say to you, or say to the audience, is whatever portable unit you're going to set up, put it together and stand outside of your garage or your shack or your house or whatever, set it up, put it together, test it out. And do it more than once, take it apart, put it back together, and test it again. And because I found after doing this a couple times that didn't have every single part, And I didn't want to get to the park or the beach or the mountaintop and figure out that it isn't really ready to go, that it's like 90% there minus one connector or one cable or a good topped off charged battery or whatever the part is that I needed to have. So if you're going to do a portable station, put it all together, test it all out, take it all apart, put it back together, test it all out before you go out in the field and try to use it. You can build on and grow over time. Bigger's not always better, depending on how your gateway coverage might be. Sometimes a small kit that you can carry along with you that doesn't look like much or doesn't weigh a whole lot, or you can just stash in a bag, can be just as effective. I have here on my desk, and we're going to use this for a demonstration momentarily for one of our other questions. That's my entire portable Go kit right there. It's a signalink and it's an HT and the two cables that connect it to this laptop. You don't really need any more than that. That will work as a client, or I can set it up as a gateway. Now, it's 5 watts and it's an HT, and you'll have to be in an area where you have a good connection to another setup or another system. But this can be an effective kit that essentially the only additional thing I'm throwing into my laptop bag that I carry every day wherever I go is the signalink, because I already have the HT that I'm carrying with me everywhere I go. But before I would want to take it out and deploy it in the field, I put it together and I tested it, and I took it apart and then I tested it again and made sure that I have all of the different parts I need. And one of the improvements, like Chris talked about, that I have for this particular setup is I do have an extra battery pack, and I do have an N9 TAX Slim Jim type antenna that I can take the antenna off the HT, remove the rubber duck, put it on that bigger antenna that has a little bit more gain that I can get a little bit higher up in the air, and extend my footprint a little bit by just adding that updated antenna.
Excellent.
Dan,
you want to talk about your portable station?
Sure. I actually have 2. I have one for VHF, UHF, and it really couldn't be, maybe David's is a little simpler, but it's an ammo can with a Yaesu FT8800, a Digirig, and I have a speaker for voice, and then I carry a Microsoft Surface laptop. I just bought that, and I really like it. Before I had the little really inexpensive Evolve laptop that a lot of the YouTubers are liking. I had problems with that. I had inconsistent USB connections with it. So I went to the Microsoft Surface. It was a $250 computer, not expensive. And so far it works really well. And I use that with both my kits. So for VHF, UHF, I have the ammo can. Then for HF, I have a Xiegu X6100, which is a 10 watt QRP HF radio. It has a built-in sound card, so I connect that directly to the Surface, and I'm ready to go. That's relatively new to me, and I'm still working out some bugs, most of which I believe were with that Evolve laptop. But I'm still not to the point where I'm 100% confident in that setup. But it works at home, and it remains to be seen when you get it out in the field if I get the same results. But so far so good. And even though it's only 10 watts, you'd be amazed what you can do on 10 watts. By the way, for HF, I use a in-fed half wave that's good for 80 through 10, and had really good luck with that antenna. And with 10 watts, it's amazing what you can do. And for my VHF UHF gateway, I have several antennas I can choose from. If I'm going to be with my truck, I have a Ed Fong antenna that I can put up on I have a front trailer hitch on the front of my truck, and I can put a Harbor Freight flagpole up with that up high. If it's something real quick and dirty I need, I have the N9TAX roll up and a 20-foot fishing pole that I can set up real quickly. So like so many things we've talked about, modularity is really an advantage, and depending on your circumstance, you grab what you need and use that.
Thanks. For my portable station, the typical kit that I have with me pretty much all the time, I've got my ICOM 705, and that has the radio. It's got the battery, built into it. It's ready to go kind of as it comes right there. I'll use, oftentimes if I'm doing VHF, UHF, I've got a small signal stick that just attaches to the side of the 705. If I'm just doing VHF, UHF, I'll use that. I'll usually have an N9TAX with me as an improvement station for that. And then for doing HF, the antenna that I usually have with me for doing portable HF work is my Chameleon F-Loop 3.0. It's a great antenna because you can tune it to resonance on most any of the bands that you need to operate on. And with only the 5 watts that's built right into the 705, I can do amazing connections with that for anywhere kind of locally using both NVIS or Skywave. And then I'll oftentimes have a small BioNO battery in the kit with me as well, so I can crank up to 10 watts if I need to get a little more power out. And then over time I go through, as far as a computer, I use the Microsoft Surface Go 3. So that's kind of the basic setup that I'm using for that. Hopefully that helps answer that question. I'm going to jump over to we'll bring this back up so that folks can see it. cq.wavetalkers.com/coffee bar if you have any questions.
Chris, in chat, there was a question about comparing the Digirig with the signalink.
Sure.
And
your thoughts on that?
Yeah, there really are a lot of ways to look at it. First of all, the Digirig is much smaller. So in terms of a portable Go kit, it has some significant advantages. On the other hand, the signalink has more control, having both transmit and receive levels adjustable on the face of the signalink. Probably the signalink's strongest suit, though, is that they have cables for virtually every radio. Right. Now, Digirig is really catching up quickly, but the interfaces are different, so you can't really interchange the cables. So if you're looking for flexibility, probably the signalink, but the Digirig works beautifully. And I mean, literally, as Chris showed there, it's the size of your thumb. So in terms of putting it in a ammo can or some small container, it's hard to beat. And it's very configurable internally, but it takes some work to do that. It's not the kind of thing you can do on the fly.
Right.
So.
Now, when you're thinking about, when I think about the Digirig, because this is one that I bought. I use this with my KX3 system, and I've got the cabling that goes with it. Once I got this thing and got it set up, this lives in my KX3 bag, and I use it all the time with that rig. I have really gotten to like it. There are a bunch of cables that the guy who makes the Digirigs sells, and all of his cables are really nicely done. They're really excellent quality. I've been really pleased with those, and I've been testing it with a variety of different rigs. Now, one of the big advantages that the signalink has, it's really easy to be able to change the jumpers inside and use that one signalink with multiple different radios that you've got. You can do a similar thing with the Digirig, more than likely you do not have as wide a range of radios as these things are all capable of doing. So there's a good chance that you could get your Digirig configured in a way that it'll work with most all of your radios anyway. You just need the different cables, which would be the same kind of thing that you would do with the signalink anyway.
Yeah. I run my HF gateway off a Digirig and it works flawlessly.
I use this on my share station all the time, and it works great. Any thoughts from you on this before we move on to the next one, Dave?
If you can get the Digirig to work, great. But I like the flexibility of the signalink. Yes, it's a little bit bigger. Either will work. Really, a lot of it depends on, like, are you going for size, if you're going for cost. Size and cost, the Digirig will win out.
Yeah, at about $50, the Digirig's quite a good deal, and you can buy several sets of cables for the difference.
Yeah, and there was a question in the chat about how do you control the levels. The levels in the Digirig are much like the levels for like the RIM boards or the DRA boards. It's most of it is set in the Windows sound control, and you use those settings in the laptop itself to control it. There's neither an advantage or a huge disadvantage there. The one advantage there is that if, like, I have a number of remote stations set up with a signalink, I can't go and turn the dial remotely. I'd have to go to the site or have somebody dial it up or down. That's on site. And the Digirig or the RIM board or the DRA boards, you can do that remotely through the Windows control panel. So, advantages and disadvantages.
And all of these, it varies on which protocol that you're using as well. So, for instance, if you're doing all this as far as VARA FM, VARA HF, either of them are pretty even. Obviously, if you need to use Pactor, you got to use a dedicated Pactor modem, and so forth. So, there you go. Hopefully that helps with that. Let's go over to the next question here. The next one is, and I'm going to leave everybody up for this one. What are the largest obstacles to implementing Winlink? This came in from NT6DX. David, we want to start with you. Any kind of thoughts on what do you think the largest obstacle to implementing Winlink? And clearly this could be taken in a variety of different ways, either for a group, an individual. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. I could see in my personal experience, there's two factors here. And again, as Chris said, two different directions. One direction is, what is the infrastructure around where you are at the given time, right? If there isn't any infrastructure, then the biggest challenge is getting you to stand something up so there's infrastructure, and then share it with other people so that they know that it's there, and teach them and train them on how to use it and how to implement it. We started off this process, there wasn't a whole lot in our area, and now there's a lot of coverage, a lot of gateways, and a lot of users. In the early classes that we did with Chris, when we first started the WaveTalkers series, there wasn't a whole lot going on in the state of Utah, and now they have some good coverage there, directly related to our work from the WaveTalkers to help get them up and running. So that infrastructure is a big challenge. The other major challenge that I've run into is the people. There are a lot of people out there, unlike our audience here, that are just not interested in learning new things and wanting to grow and taking chances and opportunities to dive into new technology. And I run up against that in some of the groups that I work with here all the time. And I would love that all of our operators would be Winlink friendly and interested in being able to send at least telnet, and if not RF traffic, and not everybody feels the same. So I think those would be my two challenges. Cool.
Dan, thoughts from you on that one?
Yeah, pretty much the same. The people part of it is just getting people to try it. I find that most people that try it really enjoy doing it and see the value in it and get hooked. But getting them to try something new is hard. As David said, some of the management level people Maybe they don't know it very well and they're afraid of, introducing something that they're not the top expert on, and kind of an ego thing. And, it's just so easy to learn once you get over the initial bumps, and it has so much value that I think most people recognize that. And, like David said, we've gone from virtually nothing here to really a pretty good system in my ACS group. We had virtually nobody that did Winlink like a year ago, and I started pushing it a little bit. And, we have maybe 10 out of 80 members are really competent in it. And so I've got 10 people I could sit down in front of a Winlink computer at one of our fixed facilities. And even though they may not have the ability to do it on their own radios, they know the software. They can operate the software, and I can sit them down and say, you're the Winlink operator today. And 10 out of 80 isn't great, but it's 10 more than we had a year ago.
Yeah, for me, I think one of the biggest challenges, there's a couple of challenges that I see, but probably the biggest obstacle is that getting operators started with using Winlink. Getting them over the idea of instantaneously, like, hey, I've got to do RF, I've got to do radio only messaging. Start off with learning to use the tool. Start off with learning to send traffic back and forth. We're all used to sending email. We do it pretty much every day, but Winlink works a little bit different. I like to describe Winlink a lot of times as driving a manual transmission versus driving an automatic. And you really need to get in and learn some of those mechanics by simply getting in and just using the program. Once you get past that hurdle, it's like anything in amateur radio. There's a bazillion different options that are out there that you can go off in your own different direction to be able to use. So I think for me, that's pretty much one of the biggest challenges, is just get over that first hump. Then, as Dave said, making sure you get that infrastructure that's set up. And if you're getting comfortable becoming an operator using Winlink, but your big challenge is you don't have gateways in your area, then follow the lead and in the example that Dan set. And he just went out and set up a gateway. And if you build it, they will come. And pretty soon, David set up a gateway, and then there more started popping up, and I built one. And it's not actually that difficult. I saw a comment go by in the chat that one of the biggest challenges is getting to local gateways, because the nearest local gateway is 120 miles away. That then becomes a perfect time to, if you're a general or an extra or an advanced operator, being able to use near vertical incident skywave, move over to HF and learn how to use that. I've been really surprised at how effective Winlink is, especially when using it over HF. It without a huge amount of power. So I mostly operate when I'm doing HF either on a 705 or on a KX3. So I'm mostly just using 5 watts, and I can very easily hit a variety of gateways up to a couple of 100 miles away with that power and be able to send traffic. It works pretty well. So those would be some of our thoughts on that. If you've got a large obstacle that you're running into, go ahead and put it in the chat as well, so we can all see that. I see Rory putting a note on YouTube saying Happy Mother's Day to all the moms. Yeah, thanks a lot for putting that note in there, Rory. Let's go on to the next question. Here's the link for the question submission, cq.wavetalkers.com/coffee bar. And the next question, this is a little bit longer one, is what is best to troubleshoot this error? I seem to be getting it about every 1 to 2 weeks in my email. Not sure what it is. And it's a notice that comes in that says this is a gateway operator, and it says that their system failed to make a connection to the CMS in a timely manner. They've checked with their ISP, and they've been checking around to see kind of what's going on with that. So let's look at where this message is actually coming from. Let me switch first over to my amateur gateway, and it looks something like this. Inside of RMS packet, if you go up here to settings and you come down here for offline notification, you go ahead and click on that. Let me actually, yeah, I see Dave's pulling them down so folks can read it. Inside of this offline notification, you set the site ID. And so this is going to be in the subject line of the message. So it's letting you know which station is having an issue. And then email to notify. You can actually put multiple emails in. It's a really good idea to put your cell information in here as well, so you can get a text message as well as sending it to your email address. And then if your station misses a notification hour of about 2 hours, you can set that to automatically send out a message to you and let you know, hey, your gateway is having some kind of an issue. You just hit update and it's there. Again, to get to that, you go to settings, and it's right here. It's called offline notification. And this same option is available in RMS packet. It's also available in RMS relay, and it's also available in tri-mode. So no matter which gateway you're operating, whether it be a VHF, UHF, or an HF gateway, you can have the system automatically notify you if there is an issue. So what could that issue be? Well, the most common one that I've run into when my system goes down is when it runs a Windows update. Runs Windows update and then either needs a reboot or it starts to reboot and it gets stuck in something. For me, it's almost always related to that. The other times when I've run into it, it's been usually because I've been demoing something here on a show, and I'll go over and I'll change something on my gateway to turn it off for a little while. I'll switch over to the client station and I forget to turn it back on. So those are a couple of them, or something happens with a reboot and it doesn't come back up. Let me bring the guys back up and get their thoughts on what they may have. Dave, let's go to you real quick. Any thoughts from you on?
Yeah, absolutely. I saw a comment in chat about turning updates off and having it only in the manual mode. And I'll strongly urge that people don't do that, because people will forget to update their Windows, and there creates vulnerabilities by having unpatched versions of Windows out there. And for sure, don't ever run anything on XP anymore. What I have found with the gateways that I have set up and operating right now is that I've set them up so that a number of things happen with the gateways every day. The gateways are set to auto start when power's removed or reapplied. If we lose power, then once power comes back up, it'll come back up automatically. I have set all of my gateways to automatically restart themselves every single day at some off time, 2 o'clock in the morning. And those items have seemed to help when I get hung up with things, when Windows is stopped and then paused and looking to force an update, or something else has gone quirky with the setup. The other thing that I'd strongly recommend is don't run your gateway off Wi-Fi. Make sure you have a hardwired internet connection to your gateway or modem at your home or whatever location you're installing that device. If the Wi-Fi is at all sketchy, or there's other signals that might get in the way of your Wi-Fi connection, that can create issues as well. So those are a couple things that just kind of occur to me, right off the top of my head. I actually have never seen that specific message that you guys called out there. I do have an occasional failure. A Windows update and a reboot can often mostly mess up the sound card situation. But I found, since I've gone to doing that daily restart using the Windows task scheduler that's all built in, has saved me a lot of headaches.
Cool. Dan, any thoughts from you on where to look for that that issue?
Not, not really. I also have had some issues with Windows Update. I do have mine configured and it works well to not do updates automatically. It downloads them and lets me know there's one waiting, that it requires a reboot, so that I'm in charge of when that happens. And I know others have had problems with that not working. And I do know Windows sometimes will override that if they have a really critical update. But in terms of the Winlink error message, I've just not seen that, other than when my internet does go down.
All right. So let's here's the link again for you, cq.wavetalkers.com/coffee bar, if you have a question that you want us to try and answer today. The next one that we have here on the list came from KS6Z, and it is, what is the speed comparison between Pactor 3 and Vara? And I'm running now on one of my gateways. I'm running Pactor and I'm running on Vara. And the two are really comparable to each other when you consider Pactor 4. Pactor 3 and Vara, there was a report that came out. It was by N5TW. This is the title of the article. You can do a Google search for it, and it's a comparison of Winlink digital mode performance based on simulation results using Teensy IONOS simulator. I put a link to that here, so you can get a direct link to it. If you go to cq.wavetalkers.com/Winlink performance, it'll take you directly to the article. I know it's on winlink.org somewhere as well. I just can't find the link to it. I was poking around earlier today to try and find it. It's a really good article. It's a pretty long article, and they go into a lot of depth about the comparison between Vara and Pactor 4, Pactor 3, and some of the other modes. I've got one of the summary graphs here. And again, there are lots of them in there. It's a really deep article. I really suggest folks go in and have a look at it. But you can see on this, what we've got plotted down here on the x-axis is the signal to noise ratio. It starts off at 20, and it goes up to 0, and then it ends out here at -5. So this is a really good signal to noise ratio, great signal. And then we're getting closer and closer to even, and then we flip over to the other side here. And then on the y-axis, you've got the bytes per minute, and you can see Vara HF, when you're down here at a really good signal to noise ratio, is actually outperforming both Pactor 3 and Pactor 4. Pactor 3 is coming in as these blue diamonds, and Pactor 4 is coming in as the lighter blue X's here. So the kind of Pactor 4 is kind of holding really well. Pactor 3 or Pactor 4 and Vara HF are actually pretty similar in their performance as far as what I've seen. Conditions change all the time, and so one may outperform the other depending on the specific situations. In general, though, we are seeing that Vara is outperforming Pactor 3 for most of for decent connections. Once you get down into closer to the signal to noise ratio, the noise is getting up a little bit higher. Pactor 3 is starting to outperform a little bit of the Vara connection. And again, this is just one of the graphs in the overall report. One of the generalities that they came up with, though, is that both Pactor 3, 4, and Vara HF just beat the pants off of RDOP and Winmore connections. It just across the board, those connections are much slower than what you're going to get with Vara or with either of the Pactor modes. So it's not a deep analysis here, but if you go on and you read the report again, it's at cq.wavetalkers.com/Winlink performance, and I'm just linking to the article where it lives on winlink.org's website. If anybody knows the exact location on winlink.org, you can go ahead and put it in the chat and we can share that link. I couldn't find it as I was looking for it earlier. CQ, not it should be I see cq.wavetalkers.com/Winlink performance. It should get you there. All right, and if not, I'll fix the link afterwards and make sure that works. So here again is the short connection there to send in your next questions. Let's go over to the next question. This is another long one here. This one came in from K7SGG, and it says Vara FM. When I get tuned into a node, the setup works really well and very fast, but after they shut down their system for a few days and they go to connect to the node again, they're finding that they're getting no signal in the response. They give a little more details here, but that they have to retune and retweak everything over and over and over in order to make that work. They list out what their station is here. It's an ID 4100. They're using a signalink and kind of basic setup here. And they did note that all of their equipment is dedicated. Dave, I was going to go to you for this one because I think you had some good insights on what your thoughts were on this.
Yeah, I think you're reading through this. I see this occasionally if I haven't used my client setup where everything's working great to Dan or one of the other stations that are in our area. I shut it off. I walk away. I don't use that computer for a day or two or three. You know, we're doing the show on Sunday and I'm sending a lot of traffic, receiving a lot of traffic. And then comes Tuesday or Wednesday when it goes to do Winlink Wednesday check-ins and I go to send and there's nothing there. Often I find the first time when I've booted up the PC and I've started it up on the first attempt, for whatever reason, things are not talking right. There isn't any changes I need to make, but often if I start it, try it, doesn't work, I'll close the application, I'll relaunch it again, I'll rerun the protocol that I want to use and it let Winlink reload the soft TNC. And often on the second try, it works. Sometimes I'll just try to ping it. First ping doesn't work, but often the second ping will. And I'm not sure if I'm waking up their end or I'm waking up my end. But typically I can resolve that issue, and I see it occasionally by just starting and restopping or trying yet another ping. And most of the time it takes care of it. Not exactly sure what the issue is.
Couple of things. First of all, time of day.
Propagation
can be a part of it. Yesterday we did fire service day, and we had our group's new communications trailer out on its maiden run. I set up Winlink in the morning and I connected to 5 gateways, no problem in the morning. About 4 hours later, I went back and I can only connect to 1 out of those 5 with the exact same setup. So time of day can make a difference, propagation in general. The other thing is I've found that I can sometimes make a good connection to stations I can't ping, and I can't explain that. In theory, it shouldn't happen, but I've had that happen several times where I tried pinging somebody that I expected to be able to connect to and was unsuccessful. So I went ahead and tried to connect, and the connection went right through. And I can't explain why that is, but I know it happens because I've seen it happen more than once. So yeah, I think persistence and trying, and of course, hopefully you can get more than one gateway in your area to where you have some options. And that's the beauty of having more than one station, that if you can't connect, you've got a backup.
Propagation and time of day, that what Dan experienced yesterday, is huge. And we see the same thing. And when I work with new operators, I'll often tell them after we get them connected and it's consistent, I'll tell them, go through the list of the gateways that are showing up when you log in to send traffic, and run through all of the top 10 that are closest to you to see which ones you can hit and which ones you can't. The other factor in yesterday that Dan saw, 5 in the morning and then 2 in the afternoon in Los Angeles yesterday, we went from overcast and cloudy in the morning and cold to, by the time Dan was probably testing, it was probably in the mid 80s, hot and dry and clear. And weather is another big factor in that propagation. It's not just the time of day, but the weather, the heat, the temperature, the overcast, the cloud, the moisture. So make sure that when you have good signals, or even when you don't, try a bunch at the top of your list to see which ones that you can connect to regularly, and note those so that hey, it's hot, it's a hot day, I might be only able to get 2, or hey, it's cold and overcast today, I'll probably be able to get 6 or 7. And that way you have alternates when you can't make those connections.
Yeah, we get during the late summer, early fall, we get what we call the Santa Ana winds here, and very dry winds, not necessarily hot, but usually with heat. And what I find doing a simplex net every Sunday, and we typically do simplex nets following our Aries nets on Monday nights, when the Santa Anas are blowing, I suspect static electricity is doing it, but it gets very noisy. And people think of signal levels propagation changing on HF, but they don't think of it so much on VHF and UHF, but absolutely it does change. And the strong signals are going to probably always be strong, but those that are kind of marginal may go from marginal to not usable at all.
Great. Yeah, I have a sorry, hang on. My connection to one of the nearest gateways that I have to me, it varies a lot from day to day. And usually it's because of my antenna that I have. I have an antenna in my attic. It's an N9 TAX. And depending on how the propagation is going, that gateway is kind of like just on the edge of where I can reach because of the local terrain. And so there's some days where the gateway connection works really good because of propagation, and other times I barely get a signal in, and there are times when I can't make a connection at all. So it can be a variety of different factors. Certainly check that Windows setting to make sure you have the correct default sound device selected, and then recheck your air antenna. And it could really be propagation. It's a really good thing to be able to look into that. All right, let's go to the next question. Again, if you've got a question, you can send it to cq.wavetalkers.com/coffeebar, and we will do our best to answer it. The next one that came in, this one came in from K6COB, and is, how do I send Winlink messages with a new Anytone A78UV2 Plus radio? You have the cable and Winlink channel program, but it doesn't go through. For that one, we're going to go over to Dave, because I believe you have a setup to be able to walk through that. Let me jump over to you.
Jump over to me. Look, there it is. And I do have this set up. And this is not the typical radio that I use. The HT that I use a Wouxun HT for this particular setup, for the setup that I carry around, so that I have a portable Winlink client all the time. And I did pull this out, and I did set it up and test it. And there's a couple of observations that I'll make that might help you out, Carolyn, or might not. I'm not 100% sure, but again, using a signalink, there is the cable. You can build your own. I just bought the one for Tigertronics for like $12 that goes into the microphone jack, goes into the back of the signalink. The jumper on this is just like the same set of jumpers you would use for like a standard 6-pin DIN, the Yaesus, the Kenwoods that have that PS2 type connector on the back of it. It's all basically the same, and my camera's all out of whack. But this works, and I'll show you a demonstration of it. The things that I'm going to point out to you here is that you'll want to make sure that, and this is a problem that I saw with setting up HTs before, you got to play with your squelch. The squelch has a lot to do with this. The volume, not as much. I can full volume up or full volume down. And what you're going to see here in the UV meter is that it's not where we're looking for it to be all the time on a regular basis. And that's because on this radio, it's a little harder to control the squelch. You have to go into a menu and then into another menu and do a nested menu and go in the squelch. Right now, the radio is set at 1, not at 0, because I don't want to hear the noise all the time. But when I first went in to look at the radio, that one was set, I think the scale is up to 9, and it was set at like 5. And without having the squelch open, it's going to try to cut off the noise, and it will treat the signal from VARA or packet as noise and want to filter it out. So I'm going to just go in here and I'm going to start it off, and we're going to see that the radio is too close to my laptop. And so it messing with the display, but I am making the connection, and I've definitely killed it. Let's see if I switch to sharing my screen here. Let me see if I can get the Zoom to let me screen share. Probably not. There we go. I'll show you a couple things, and you can see it's not the best or ideal traffic. Sorry, where I funnel around here. Can you guys see the screen share now? There you
go.
Oh, that's better. What you'll see is that, again, the UV meter, which again, we usually want to see up here in the 75% type area, is down. And again, that's the radio itself. The HT is quieting itself. I don't have the squelch set at 0 because if once I disconnect it, I don't want to hear the static all the time. But it is functional. It will work. You just need to turn that squelch down a little bit, and you'll see the connection go. And remember too, the HT 5 watts on a rubber duck antenna for the most part. So you want to make sure that you have a good clear shot. Well, of course, now demonstration gods aren't with us, but we did just make the connection a moment ago. Let's see, try it one more time. You want to make sure you have a good clean shot at whatever gateway that you're trying to connect to. Took it out of try one more time, and then I'm going to throw it back to Chris. There you go. So we're connecting in. I had the HT laying on the side because it did not cooperate well with my laptop there, but it is doable. It will work. Again, think about how far you are away. Think about the fact that the HT is only 5 watts, and if you're going into a mobile gateway running off of a 50-watt rig, you're going to have to be in a situation where you can easily connect in and make that connection with the power that you may or may not be limited to.
David, another thing on those Kenwood K connectors with the 2 pins, they are kind of notorious for not seating very well. Yep. Especially some of the cheaper cables. They feel like they're all the way plugged in. I've even had to resort to cutting the rubber back on some of the connectors to get them to seat right. So make sure that your double plug Kenwood connector is actually fully seated into the radio.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
And of course the question is, Carolyn, are you keying the radio when you click transmit? That would be helpful information. And another thing you could do is have a second radio and monitor that frequency. Hear if it's transmitting. If you're hearing, a typical VARA kind of a sound, that would tell you whether you have a Winlink issue or whether you have a transmission issue. But first things I would check is your squelch volume and make sure you're seated well.
Yeah, I think if you go back to episode 69, when we talked about troubleshooting Winlink techniques, one of the things we looked at there was looking at your entire signal chain from Winlink all the way through your computer, the physical connections from your computer into the radio, and trace those back at different points to try and figure out where that connection issue may be going on. So there's a couple of ideas for you. Hopefully some of those help, and we'll continue on from there.
Yeah, Lloyd pointed out in chat to make sure you don't have your bandwidth set to narrow on your channels.
Oh, good point.
That would definitely limit your chances of connection.
Right. And that's
ham frequency should all be wide.
Right?
Say again.
That's in the VARA settings, right?
No, in the programming of the radio itself.
The radio.
The radio, right? Okay.
Yeah, ham's channels should all be wide.
Right. All right. Let's go on to the next question here. The next one is comes in from Kilo November 6, Lima Oscar Alpha. And basically it's saying the question here is about how do you log some of these Winlink connections? And for that, what I want to do is I actually want to go and do a quick little demo, because this could not be easier to do. So let me switch over to my Winlink station here. And if you have not found it, if you haven't been here and done this, you go up to the messages menu inside of Winlink. You go ahead and give that a click. And down here near the bottom is generate ICS 309 communications log. Now there is, if you go in through the templates like we normally show at the beginning of every single show, inside of there's a folder for ICS templates, and there's an ICS 309 communications log, and you can manually fill that out if you would like, but this is way easier. So if you just select this generate 309, you can check the boxes here for what you want. Whether or not you've got a specific folder, I'm not going to do that one. You can choose it to do the date and time limitations. I'm going to have it start and create a log for me just from the beginning of February of this year. You can say how you want those log files to be separated. You can give a little additional information down here, but one of the things you can do now is just generate a 309. You just click the PDF button, and if the demo gods are with us, it should kick that out to the desktop. Of course, I've gotten quite a few messages here because we get these check-ins every single week, but it should go ahead and generate that log file for you automatically. There's not really a whole lot that you need to do. You just set which parameters that you want to be captured in the log, the date and time range for it, and it will go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead and let this continue. Actually, I'm gonna X out of that, and there we go. Now it finished. So it should be on my desktop. And close that. Let me minimize, and should be somewhere here on the desktop. Where's my PDF of it? And like check-ins. 309. Just open it up, and there it goes. It creates that file for you automatically, and it logs all your ins and out communications for you. So it's really easy to be able to set that up and do that. Again, that was located. If I bring up my Winlink again, that was located here in the messages tab. Generate ICS 309 communications log. Super easy to be able to use. I'm looking at a couple of the other questions that have come in, because I think have we gotten to the end of all of the ones that, yeah, we've gotten to the ones that we've all prepared for. Let's take a couple of these other ones. There was a question in here. This came in from Victor Echo 3 Yankee X-ray. Have you discussed radio only? It seems to be a secondary comms to coordinate. You need to have secondary comms to coordinate messages which don't have an RMS. We've not gone into radio only messaging on our show because mostly there's not enough bandwidth on the ham bands to effectively use radio only messaging. It really requires a lot more bandwidth. It can really tie up the system. But the biggest key to making that work is here under the settings menu here inside of Winlink. If you come down here, there's this option for a hybrid network parameters. And if you select that, what you're able to do is you're able to set what you want your message pickup server to be. And I know I'm not really going into a lot of details on this, but essentially what you need to do is you need to designate specific RMS gateways that you want to pick up your radio only mail from. And it's one you're going to connect to that gateway in order to do that. And then you're able to send this radio only traffic back and forth, and you pick up your mail from there. But for the having to do a coordination to make sure that you've got your traffic set up to be able to send back and forth, that really is under the peer-to-peer session. So if you click here on the drop down, all of these options here for peer-to-peer, you really need to have a little bit of secondary communication to be able to set up the frequency you're going to be on, make sure both stations are in the right mode to be able to do that. So that's more peer-to-peer connection as opposed to just radio only. We are going to do this here in an upcoming episode because apparently for field day this year, this is one of the ways to be able to get some additional points. So we'll cover that more in an upcoming episode for being able to do that. Another question that's come in, this one came from KK6PAS, and this says, David recently showed a video where he had set up very quick to be on the air, and he had a small portable tripod antenna. Can you share the tripod and antenna info, make and model? Dave, do you know roughly what that?
Sadly, yes, I can tell you. I'm going to dump them in the chat. The antenna is the venerable Comet SBB2. That antenna has been around for a long time. It's about $50 on Amazon. I dropped that link in the chat. The antenna, the tripod itself, is another Amazon product. And that product I just clicked away from is a GRA ULT01 Mark II lightweight portable antenna. Unfortunately, right now, according to Amazon, it is out of stock. It's about $120. So they're unattainium, but you can get the link based on what I just pasted in the chat there. You might be able to find similar resources out there. The cool thing about that little tripod is the center stock of the tripod actually has a 239 connector in it. And then there's a 239 connector off the side that's all routed through. So you can literally screw the antenna right on the top of the tripod and then connect your coax to the side of the tripod, and it holds it in place. So it's there, pasted in the chat. Again, right now it's not available. When they bring them back to availability, I'll make sure that Chris goes into the WaveTalker site, and in our store that links through for the Amazon purchase stuff, we'll make sure those are listed there for purchase.
All right. Let's go to the next question here. That
Chris, before you do that, Carolyn asked a question or commented she couldn't find the wide or narrow. Carolyn, in the software, at least the version I'm looking at, fifth column from the left says bandwidth. And it has a choice of, let's see here.
By 12.5 and 25.
Yeah, 12.5 and 25. You want to be on 25.
Yep, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
I had to install the software to find it.
Yeah, actually, I pulled it up just for that specifically. But yeah, you'll want to set it at 25.
And Dan, since you're up on screen, Bill AC7SR asked, which Microsoft Surface is 12 volt? Which one did Dan just buy, and where'd you get it?
Okay. The one I got is not 12 volt. It's 15 volts. So who knows, most laptops are 19 volts, but the nice thing about Microsoft Surface is, I'm trying to bring up Amazon here. the nice thing about the Surface is that they make a 12-volt cigarette lighter adapter. So let's go through here and find, you see all the crazy stuff I bought, socks, interesting stuff. Probably should have prepared for this, guys.
You
Uh,
got it on Amazon. And we've got we'll add a link on to, if you go to the WaveTalkers resources page for Winlink, we've got some other links on there. And to make it work on 12 volts, there is on the resources page for Winlink on our website, there is a link to a 12-volt plug to the Microsoft Surface adapter. It's got a little button you push on it, and it does the up conversion of the voltage for you to make it work off of 12 volts. There, Dan's showing you where he got his. I'm using the Surface Go 3, and it works the exact same way with that adapter. And again, that's linked off of our site.
and I haven't tried it yet, but it does have USB-C, which should allow you to charge it from a 12-volt USB-C device as well. It just won't charge as fast as it will with the built-in power adapter at 15 volts, but it will should charge off the USB-C as well. That's what I'm counting on anyway.
Most laptops will have one port that's set for and read your manual specifically to take input power on that USB-C chain.
Okay.
Lenovo's have 2 or 3 of those USB-C connectors. Only one of them is set up to take the input charging. And as far as 12-volt adapters, pretty much any laptop you have out there, you can get and find a 12-volt adapter to charge your laptop in the field. My Toughbook, I found one. And yeah, you're going 12 to 19, and sure, maybe there's some loss there, but you can charge those all in the field.
All right.
And so far I like this laptop. It's just a little small for my fat fingers, but I'll get used to that. And but it works beautifully and seems to have pretty good battery life. I ran probably 6 or 7 hours yesterday, with doing quite a bit of Winlink stuff on it, and it wasn't fully charged when I started. And just towards the end of the day, maybe 1 o'clock, my battery dropped out.
Nice. There's another question that came in. How can I, there was a comment that came in the chat. This came in from Eric. It says, please comment on whether radio only or internal disconnected RMS provides more security for official use comms. Anything over the air and RMS is readable on the website without a login, right? So there's a lot of things kind of baked into this question here. Anything you're sending over amateur radio is not encrypted. So, and it can be read and processed. If it's going through an RMS, then it's going to get up onto the Winlink website for it to be available. Anybody can read anything that's going on. So if there's more security, there is no more security when it comes to operating on amateur radio, where by our license are not allowed to encrypt anything. So it falls into that category. If there's information that needs to be encrypted, you would need to look at another system, such as something like Shares, where your agencies could be able to do some of that encryption with that. But that is a topic for another show. Let's try and run through just a couple of more of these. Somebody asked, this is K6COB again. How can I configure RMS packet to automatically update? I thought I had done that, but then I discovered that I was not running on the latest software. If I jump really quickly over to my gateway, and this is my amateur gateway, and up here under settings, you can select the very top item, which is site properties. The thing that you want to make sure is this inhibit auto update. Make sure that's unchecked. It might be something that you've got check because it's like, oh, that's the auto update. Well, this is actually working the opposite direction. That's if you want to check it to inhibit the auto update of that application. So I think this recently changed. I think it used to say, send me the latest version, and it was a checkbox. So make sure that is unchecked in your copy of RMS.
And Chris, I don't know the answer, so I'll ask you, is this like the client software where it only auto updates when you restart the program?
I don't know. I know Mr. Waterman's on the call. Maybe he can comment in
because if that's the case, if she's running consistently,
might need to just restart
on a daily basis.
He's able to handle that really easily by setting his system to auto reboot. Can you talk about that a little bit, Dave?
No, just, we said it before, and in episode number 67, we went through tips and tricks and power optimization or automation for your gateway. And one of the important things that I think that I did to improve my gateway is have it reboot on a daily basis. You can use the Windows task scheduler to do a reboot, shutdown /R will restart it. And again, things like this application wanting to be restarted to get the update will go along with that daily reboot. So you'll make sure you're on the fresh version.
Excellent. Let's go to hit the next question here that just came up. And that one is, where'd it go? I just had it up in front of me. How I want to work with with my call sign in two different service codes, public and EmComm. How is this possible? So where you make that setting changes here inside of your Winlink Express, this works on all of the clients. You come up here to settings, and the very top item here is Winlink Express setup. You go ahead and select that. It brings up your Winlink Express properties and all the information that's in here. But if you come down here for service codes, you just separate them with a space. So you just, I've got mine set to public in all caps and then space EmComm in all caps. And then where that comes into play is whenever you've got your mode set to, say, any of these other different modes, so VARA FM, VARA HF, or packet, or any of these, when it goes and it pulls and it looks for all of the gateways that are available to you and it's trying to tell you the best ones to be able to connect to, it will merge both the public service code as well as the EmComm service code. If you would like to see how you could go inside and see which gateways are available to you under the different service codes, if you go to winlink.org, and right here on the top, there's the link for the tools. Go ahead and click on the tools link, and it'll bring up the RMS map. And right now it's initially set on Pactor. I'm going to go ahead and select this over to VARA FM. So it's got these little radio buttons here at the top. And this is showing you all of the VARA FM gateways that are available in here. There's a lot of information. But you notice also up here, it says service code, and it has public listed. So these are all of the VARA FM gateways that are using the service code of public. If you would like to see what all of the EmComm ones are, you just delete that away and you just type that in here, EmComm, and you hit refresh, and it should do a little spinny, and now it's showing you the gateways that are operating only under that EmComm service code. And the same thing works if you come over here and you select Pactor. So now it's showing us the Pactor gateways that are operating under the EmComm service code, or you can type in public and you can see that. There are a variety of other service codes that are out there. They are not publicly listed. If you're inside of one of those groups that would use a dedicated service code, then you know what that service code is. You can go ahead and enter it in and you can find what those gateways are. Works really nicely. There was another question in here about, is there an all-weather magnetic loop antenna? I live in a temperate rainforest, and things need to be essentially waterproof to be deployable in the field. The mag loop that I use is the only mag loop that I have, is the Chameleon F Loop 3.0. Before jumping into that, my suggestion would be to reach out to each of the different manufacturers. The three major ones that are out there would be Chameleon, Alpha Antenna, and Alex Loop are the three ones that I know of. I'm sure there are others out there. Which ones are considered all weather? I don't know. One thing to keep in mind, and we covered this in the EmComm Antenna Basics episode, and I forget what the number is for that. It was back in, I think, October or November that we did that show. So it's probably in the 30s or 40s that we did that episode. Keep in mind that a magnetic loop antenna is created by creating a short at the end of your coax. That's what the loop is, and then it's the two loops that you see are actually a transformer to be able to get out to the larger transmitting loop. But the loop that you're connecting to is a shorted loop. So I don't know if getting that out in all weather is such a good idea. You certainly would want to check on that and verify, but I would reach out to each of the manufacturers and talk to them about that. And I think that's most of the questions. Somebody asked, Kilo Fox 4 Golf Kilo, which episode deals with the IC 7100 using Winlink, using the 7100 USB port only? I don't recall if we did that, because I don't think any of us have a 7100. We may have talked about that as we were helping somebody. I know Rory has one. But I don't see him inside of the Zoom today. We'll see if we can hit that up on a future episode to cover that. That's, I think, where we've gotten to the end of the bulk of the questions for today. Let me do another quick check here of our check-ins to see if any more check-ins have come in, because I do realize it's Mother's Day. We want to get folks out to out of here to be able to spend time with their families today. So looks like all the check-ins have come in. Let's do a quick check on the map. One more time, if you missed it, there is, if you're running the beta version of Winlink Express, there is that search field icon that's up there now. It allows you to search here, and that's really super helpful. I'm going to click on the little globe icon here, and we're going to check the Winlink check-ins. I'm going to display that up on the map. We're already zoomed here into Southern California. Let me check my filters and make sure that's set up for currently only displaying the current 24 hours. There we go. We got a few check-ins in here. Looks like Logan checking in there from the LA area, and W6LIK. Hey, thanks a lot for joining us. N7GET over in Vegas, KI7HQA. Let me go ahead and bring that out to full screen. We've got a few more here. Here's in Southern Utah, KJ7ETX. Looks like up here we've got KF6NPG. Let me start to zoom out a little bit, and we'll get a full view of start off in North America here this time, and we'll just kind of roll over some of these other. Looks like we've got Greg joining us up there in the Piedmont, Bill joining us up there in the Seattle area, and several others. I figured this would be kind of a light week with Mother's Day. And hey, King, good to see you there joining us. Station here in looks like Arkansas. Hey, nice to see you there. Station in Wisconsin, and down here in Southern Ohio. There we are. There's a friend up in Canada, Victor Echo 3 Yankee X-Ray. Thanks for joining us. We'll just come down here to a few more of these. There's Lloyd joining us, and looks like KO4 Aces. There we go. Let me zoom out to the rest of the planet and see what else we got. It looks like we do have Terry down here in New Zealand, down there in ZL land, and DU3GKT in the Philippines. Hey, thanks a lot for joining us over there. Lots of great stuff. Franz joining us, and Roland from Austria and Germany, respectively. So thanks a lot for joining us there. Let me bring the guys back up here.
Wait, Chris, can I do a quick screen share?
Oh, yeah, sure. Go ahead.
I want to call out one of our success stories. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, we can.
There's your gateway, Carolyn. K6COB, one of the newest gateways in the Southern California area. Carolyn's got that set up on Vara FM, and you are definitely listed on the directory there. So I wanted to shout out on your success and congratulate you, and thank you for coming along on this journey.
Yeah, Carolyn has really worked very hard to get up to speed. In the last 6 months, she's learned how to do HF, and through struggles, she was able to get a gateway up on the air. She reached out and got some help, and very much a success story.
Absolutely.
Not so much on our end, but greatly on her end for being determined. She's been that way from day one when she got her ham license. So
great job, Carolyn. Let's go around. Any closing thoughts from today? Dave, let's start with you.
Just get it out there, test it, play with it, test it again. I mean, really, the you know, it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of value here. I think a lot of the questions that we talked about, again, setting up your field unit, test it, play with it, talking to other people about the value that this tool brings. I feel like I'm doing that story over and over and over again with our groups here. Some of the folks are biting and some of them aren't. We'll just keep talking to them. At some point, they're going to get tired of me saying, you should come along on this journey, and they'll adopt it. And there is a lot of great value, and it's great to see everybody all across the US and around the world joining us, because we can do better things for our local served agencies and the public around us by using these tools, learning how to do them, and making them available to others.
Hey, before we go over to Dan, I wanted to make a quick note to everyone that next week, which is going to be May, I think it's the 21st, we're not going to have a show that's going to be live. We're going to be supporting the Mountains to Beach Marathon in Ventura County. So we're all going to be tied up for the show during the time, helping and supporting that. So we'll be back after that for another episode. But this coming week, we won't have a show, so everybody can have another week off. Dan, any closing thoughts from you this week?
Well, I would say take every opportunity you can to show off what Winlink and other technology can do to your served agency. As I said earlier, we had Fire Service Day yesterday, and I had an opportunity to talk to the LA Fire Department fire chief who came in, and I took the opportunity to show her both Winlink and Mesh Network. Carolyn, I know, posted on Facebook that Chief Flegel, who is the bureau chief for one of the 4 bureaus in LA City, he came by and she took the time to show him how Winlink can do field situation reports and the value of that field truth, as the emergency managers like to call it. But how, with our 80 plus members that we have in our group, we very quickly could give them a picture of what's going on the ground with utilities and other things that they're interested in. When maybe the infrastructure's down, maybe they're not getting a lot of reports in from their outlying areas. But with Winlink, we could send the word out to our members, everybody send in a field situation report, and boom, we create a map with Winlink, and it shows the situation in any given part of the city. So take that time to take every opportunity to show your served agency, and not just them, but public officials, these outreach events. I've told this story before, but just to be brief, we had an outreach event a few years ago, and a woman approached us and she said, "What can ham radio do to help us get notified in the canyon I live in where we don't have good internet?" And we sort of on the spot came up with an idea of a system using mesh networking. And lo and behold, we got a $200,000 grant to create that system, all from a brief contact at a public service event. And that's how we got our comms trailer. It was awesome, but it was one of those things that if we weren't ready to talk about what we can do, it never would have happened.
So if you find the information helpful that we're putting out there, please be sure to go onto our YouTube channel, like it, leave us a comment. You can leave some questions in there, feedback for us on the different episodes. We do respond to all of them that do come in. We appreciate that. If you find the information really helpful, consider going on to wavetalkers.com and use the Buy Us a Coffee link to help support us and keep the mission alive here as we're helping out and putting out all of this content on a regular basis. As far as wrapping up, I want to echo what my colleagues have been saying, and that is really to get in and practice this stuff, try things, get your kid out, be able to just try sending some Winlink messages. Even if you're just hitting your own local gateway that's kind of nearby and you're sending traffic to your own personal email address, send a regular message out to your out of area contact so that they're able to get a hold of you in the event of an emergency. And just keep hanging in there and trying new stuff on a regular basis. With that, let's go ahead and wrap up the live stream portion of the show. If you're here inside of the Zoom, hang around for the after party. We'll take some questions from folks live here in the after party. Again, we're not going to do a show next week, but we will see you the week after that. And yeah, 7-3, everyone. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Talk to you soon.